How do you do, Hootaloo? It's Hotline League episode 83. I am so excited to be here. It's going to be a bit of a shorter episode tonight as we just did a live show not too many nights ago. In fact, last Friday, just a couple nights ago, which so fantastic. Had so many great people come out. But we're really excited to talk about the end of Rift Rivals and this week's LCS coming up. Maybe a little bit of Teamfight Tactics talk since Mark and I obviously love that game so much. Speaking of Mark, my constant co-host is next to me. How's it going, Mark?
You messed up the intro. You said, how do you do Hootie-Loo as opposed to Hootie-Loo, how do you do?
It's okay.
The limerick part should... Well,
you know, with the technical issues we've had tonight, I am super okay with that one being a little off.
I'm good. They just announced the Twitch Rivals thing, and Kobe and I were able to say that we were the ones who were going to be casting it, so I'm super stoked.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that they decided to do that, and quite frankly, I'm kind of impressed they were able to do it on such short notice, right? Or not short notice, but like they just launched the game, and you would think maybe they'd wait, but it's cool that they're able to pull it out so quickly.
I mean, I like this new Riot. You know, I don't know having an old Riot, but just get shit done.
Yeah.
You know, flying by the seat of your pants Riot.
Yeah.
Making your employees work probably way too much Riot, you know?
Yes. Well, we don't need to talk about that on this show. Talked about that a lot in other shows. Either way, I do want to give a shout out to Alienware for sponsoring the show. Thank you so much to Alienware. Thank you to them for last week's live Hotline League as well. That was really fun. Mark and I had a great time. We'll talk more about them later on in the show, but let's see. I mean, so last time, so we did do the show on Friday. Then on Saturday, Rift Rivals wrapped up. We saw Team Liquid was the only team that was able to take a game off of anybody, and they beat G2, which was exciting. Unfortunately, then TSM crapped out in the next game. And I know obviously we can sort of talk about now we can talk about the repercussions of Rift Rivals and what it means. Obviously a lot of conversation about, you know, what does North America take away from this, and are we going to catch up, and you know, even happy to talk about some of the topics that were talked about on the last episode, because you know it was like double lift and the coaches talking. We haven't unfortunately had a chance to hear too much of all of your opinions. We can talk about Teamfight Tactics. Mark got a new cat, but that's the old cat that's in front of him.
New cat's being a little shit. He's in a bitey phase. He just keeps biting.
Oh, that's not good.
So
have you bought it? Have you
won't too much?
Bited him back?
No, I scuff him. Hold him by the back of his neck fat.
Oh,
you don't need. What are you doing, you little psycho? You see this?
He just keeps running around in circles. I don't know.
He's like falling off me.
We need to get
his butt right in my face. Dude.
We need to get a cat emoji just because of how often your cat shows up on the episode.
I know. Figure it out. Just sit on me, not on my laptop, you little fucker.
All right, whatever. So anyway, there's that stuff to talk about. Again, as I said at the top of the show, might be a bit of a shorter episode this week, but that's just because, quite frankly, there's a little less to talk about. Since we had just done an episode, but we also have this coming week to talk about, and I also am really hoping that we can all talk a little bit about Teamfight Tactics, because I've been enjoying it. Mark and I have been trying to do a Teamfight Tactics show, but we haven't had a chance. That cat can't get comfortable.
I don't know. Just okay, fucking
there we go.
Down, dude.
There we go.
Yeah, I think there was also the Rush news that came out, right?
Oh,
Rush
yes, I forgot about that. Rush.
It's already off the front page. What the hell? Did it get pulled down?
I think that got announced yesterday.
Oh, was that yesterday? Dude,
it's all blurring together. I know. So the Rush news and the Mike Young news, because Mike Young will be replacing him.
Well,
yeah. What do you mean technically?
You see that tweet? Well, I mean, it's more Rush news to me than Mike Young news. But
Okay.
I guess.
What was the tweet?
His response to Rush tweeting that he's like a free agent now.
So, it was like, I'm sorry to take your job. Yeah, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand that he's not trying to be a dick and just didn't realize how that would read to most people. So I don't, as long as Rush didn't take it like, dude, what the fuck? I'm not going to sit there and white knight for Rush, but like, yeah, that's some awkward ass phrasing.
By the way, breaking news, Teamfight Tactics just got added to the arcade event pass. So I don't know if people have been following that, but
fuck.
The arcade event was happening, and people were like, "Well, it kind of sucks because I want to play a lot of Teamfight Tactics, but you know that is not included at all in the arcade event." And Bellis, who Mark and I both know, did the cat just try to punch you in the face?
They're just pawing at the mic, the
Oh,
microphone
okay.
on me.
Anyway, he
Isn't he just
commented.
the cutest little boy?
I like how like you're such a grouchy, angry person, but this cat brings out like an entirely different side of you.
He's actually a really nice guy. He's just a fucking cuddle bug.
Yeah. Well, I think he's not the only one who's a cuddle bug over there. If I say so myself, Mark. Because you're cuddling with the cat too. That's anyway. So the only thing is, and I'll put it in the Twitch chat right now. You can now get tokens for the arcade event by playing Teamfight Tactics, which I think is pretty hype. Pretty hype. And I went ahead and dropped that link in there for anybody that wants to check it out. But I'm happy that they're doing this. Like, actually, I will buy this arcade event pass for it. So, there you go. Mark, you okay over there?
He's being extra cuddly now. I don't know what he's doing.
That is insane content that we're getting right now.
Yeah, I mean, subs to see cat's paw at my face.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I wish this should have been the thumbnail. Okay, so we're gonna pull calls. Mark, do you want to explain how the show works for people who haven't watched it for the first time?
Yeah. So if you guys have never seen this show before, it is a live call-in show, and I am pasting the Discord link a bunch of times. I got really lazy and just put them all together. But you can go ahead and join up at the Discord. Once you get there, go ahead and post your take in the pleb topics or subtopics text channel, and then in the voice channel, you're going to join pleb calls or sub calls. And if we like what you've posted in the text channel, we'll pull you from the voice channel to the waiting room where you'll hang out until it's your turn to come on, do a quick mic check, and then you'll be on air discussing whatever it is we've pulled you for.
Well, we can also talk about the Marvel partnership because I don't think we talked about that. We had Steve kind of talk about it, but if people want to talk about that at all, or if we get a call, that's pretty cool. So,
yeah, I'm still pulling people, so fill for me.
Okay, great. I went on a hike yesterday. You didn't ask me how my week was, but I went on a hike yesterday.
I saw you go on that hike. Thanks for the invite.
Well, I did actually invite you the night before, so I hope that wasn't a sarcastic thanks for the invite.
That was sarcastic.
Because if you recall, you said I'm going to play only Teamfight Tactics tomorrow, and I was like, okay. So
I did stream for like 4 or 5 hours today.
Yeah, you could have gone. You definitely could have gone. We went with Kobe and Peter and a couple of friends. That was fantastic. And what else? It was just nice to have. Honestly, it was just nice to have a Sunday off. It was so strange. There's the holiday weekend that's coming up, and I feel like I can't. That's not a thing I get to have. So it was nice to at least have the Sunday off.
You ready?
We should have Rift Rivals every week. Yes, go ahead and pull our first caller. By the way, if you are a sub, feel free to post your topic in the subtopics chat. It moves a little slower there, so maybe you'll get a chance to get your call in. And thanks for being a sub. Mike Spam is here. Mike Spam, where are you calling from?
Still Seattle, Travis. One day you'll remember.
I remember, but sometimes it's nice to ask, and it's a habit. Anyway, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
ProView sucks.
Okay.
I regret buying it.
Okay. So why do you regret?
Because I have not used it outside of the first week.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yo, I'm a hardcore watcher. I watch every LCK game, every LCS game, tiny bit of LPL, tiny bit of EU. I am the target audience for this.
Okay.
And what I realized was, at no point watching the LCS did I ever think, man, I wish I could watch the mainstream at half size while I had the POV of some other player on my monitor.
So then why did you buy a product that allows you to watch the LCS stream at half size while you have a POV of a player on the other monitor?
Because I thought it would be cooler, frankly.
I mean, it was so distracting while Mark is messing with a cat.
This guy is Natsume. He's our new kitty. He's
Great.
A little baby. He
I'm
bites
happy for
everything.
you.
He's a little shit.
I'm happy for you. Okay, so you thought it would be cooler, but you're generally not finding that you like the idea of watching a single player stream?
Yeah, and the fact that if I want the cast while I'm watching it live, I have to have the cast in the slot one. That's an issue. The fact that what I realized is there's a lot of cool moments where I'm glad I can look at a player POV, but I have to constantly be switching and looking for people in the action. Sort of like how they on broadcast when a cool play happens, they're like, let's check out their pro view so we can see what they see. That's cool. I want more of that. And I realize that's not the experience I'm getting. And then I also realize that I can't find anyone talking about what they're watching in pro view.
Oh, as in like you like Twitch chat, but there's no way to have that outside of like.
Not even that. It's like you go to a post-match thread. When's the last time you've seen someone be like, "Yo, you guys with ProView, you gotta check out what, for example, Phoenix's view for this game looked like, cause it was crazy."
Hmm. So it's like hard because you'll see something, but there's no like camaraderie there or whatever. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like a play. Why haven't you commented that?
Because
Well, you said you're not using it.
I'm not, and then I'll be like, I'm gonna check this out because I'll see a play happen, so I'm like, I'm going to go look for that. And then by the time I've done that, well, one, it's after the game, so it's already late. It's like I'm not going to stop watching the broadcast. I'll check it out when there's a pause, and then I'm less excited to go into a post-match thread 2 hours late. Like, hey guys, did anyone see this cool play?
Right.
Just the camaraderie's not there. I don't know. Maybe this is just, I mean, like, chat's saying it's a me problem. It might be a me problem. I just feel like there's no one else talking about how cool it is, so it might not just be a me problem.
What would you like to see differently?
So, what I'd love, and this won't happen because it's technically infeasible, would be like an NFL red zone type thing where it's constantly, where it's at a delay and it knows like here's where a kill is happening, so I'm going to swap to a pro view of the person about to get a kill. That would be cool, where it's just
Okay.
a montage of switching between pro views, or the ability to have, like I said, maybe I want to watch Bjergsen, but I also want the casters. Well, I can't do that right now.
And that's, well, I mean, you just have to have the casters in like another tab.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, I mean,
obnoxious.
I think
Oh,
I
and
can,
by
like,
the way, it doesn't count towards your team pass missions.
I thought
which
they
is
fixed
also
that after the
obnoxious.
first week.
ooh.
I was still having issues with it.
Okay.
I think, both things can be true. I think it's possible for Twitch chat to be like, yeah, this probably isn't exactly for you, despite, how excited you were for it. Given that, like, the things that you're saying you're taking issue with are a lot about the community and the sense of, watching as a group. Like, it's the equivalent, I guess, of like watching game film of someone in a room by yourself versus like watching in a stadium, because there's
Yeah.
no Twitch chat, there's no, like you said, no post game reaction thread, no one to turn to and be like, whoa, did you see that shit? Other than like maybe Twitter, and even then they're probably not. So like, I totally get where you're coming from, and I think, yeah, that might be a you problem, but I think it's also fair to say that, like, maybe it does apply to more people than just you, where like the actual entertainment value of this product isn't as high as people initially thought. You get to see a lot of like the funniest stuff anyways from people just like tweeting it out or clipping it
Yeah.
anyways. And so like, while it is cool if you're a mid laner learning a matchup to be able to sit and watch Bjergsen in that matchup, which is fucking amazing, it's not like, oh, I want to watch this every single time. It's more like a beneficial VOD, if anything. Like, you're paying for
Yes.
access to really sick VODs.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting discussion to be had here. First off, in Twitch chat, of course. Like, look, I think I understand in some sense you bought this thing, but then you don't like it. It's hard to say that necessarily that's like a Riot problem, but in a sense, it also is, because I assume you are not the only one having this problem, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, they've done a lot of marketing, and quite frankly, this type of thing has never existed before. So you don't know. If you like, it's totally the type of thing like fantasy LCS, right? Where maybe you've never played fantasy LCS, you hop in and you play it for a little bit, and then like by the third or fourth week, you're like, this is not keeping my attention. And I could totally see that being the case here, where you know, maybe you've never watched a pro view before, you've never watched a pro, like this type of thing, and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to give it a try, and you try it and you're like, wow, this is just not what I'm excited about. The big question for me is what percentage of the audience is having this, because I have heard that ProView is not like a rampant success. I'm not hearing that it's failed by any means or anything like that, but I'm hearing it's not like wildly successful. And if, for instance, half the people that signed up for it don't buy it again next split, that could be an issue. Like, it would be an interesting poll to do to find out how many people who have bought it plan on buying it again. And because that would probably mean that ProView maybe is a failure, or they need to repurpose it, or it needs to be cheaper. I don't know. But it's a very interesting discussion now, you know, 5 weeks in, to try to understand, like, is this actually worth it or not?
It's like, do you know how boring most laning phases are? Just watching one random player.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's even more boring than watching a stream,
Yes.
because you don't get any of the comms, there's no music, there's no nothing, and then people are just generally playing better, which often translates to safer um, in pro LCS than a stream. So like when Broken Blade plays Riven and solo queue versus LCS or Viper or whatever, you know, like they play it so differently that you don't get to see like tons of insane pop off moments like when you're watching your favorite streamer. So I don't think it really even fulfills that kind of um, scratch, I guess, that kind of itch.
Is there a way that they could make it more attractive to you?
Like I said, I really just want smash cuts of highlights. Because
Okay.
right now, to get anything interesting from it, for a service I already paid for, I have to put in a lot of effort.
But you want live highlights, essentially, because when people think highlights, they think VODs, but there's a ton of highlights out there in the already. Or would it be better for you if you got access to like premium highlight reel that only exists for people from the ProView perspective, that you can only get, you know, it pops up 24 hours after the games are complete?
Yeah, that would be cool. If it's just like, here's all the cool moments from the day in ProView.
Every single solo kill this weekend smashed together into like a 5-10 minute video, you know?
Yeah, that would be really cool. And that would be, as someone, again, who's really, really, really engaged. I mean, I have a Clutch Gaming Team Pass. Like,
Yikes.
how many people are that dedicated?
You know, you can kind of do this though, because if you go to the VOD afterwards, you can see when all the kills happen in the game, and so you can scoot around, and like, I know it's not like I'm gonna press play and sit back, but you could, in essence, just open up the VOD and look at all the moments where like the action happened.
Yes, I could do this, but again, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think I can totally agree. Like, you want to watch cool shit. You don't want to have to find cool shit.
Exactly.
And it is great that they have all these things that let you find cool shit pretty easily, to be fair. But it's so much more of a isolated active experience than it is for most sports viewing, which is like you kind of sit back and you just turn your brain off and cheer when things go right and boo when things go wrong, and you know, yell at the TV about the draft. Like that's what
Exactly.
sports are, and this is not like I said, this is the equivalent of like an analyst watching game film, and like most people probably don't actually want to do that. So I totally get that, and I think the problem with any of these things that increases the value of the buy for people like you is that it's going to take effort on Riot's end, and I don't think they want to like update the effort. I don't know what goes into maintaining ProView every single weekend, but I imagine a substantial part of that workload is automated at this point, right? And maybe someone has to manage it and make sure it all is working. But if someone was going to do a supercut of those solo kills, maybe you can write a script that's somehow going to sponge it all the footage and compile it together and whatnot. But more likely, it would be someone's job to do that, which then means that person's income is going, or like their wage is going against what ProView's bringing in, which isn't really maximizing profit. So it's a hard sell.
Imagine how cool that would be for Worlds. It's like, here's all the solo kills of every day from Worlds in a smash cut. That would be worth paying for.
Right, but I think it's a large ask to get someone to do that without, you know, having the data be like, oh, that will lead to a for sure uptick in revenue.
It's really hard to. I think the problem that they might run into is the problem that you end up in a lot of these types of situations where, like, what if the product is, and I don't know, But what if the product is not? If you're unhappy with it and other people are unhappy with it, what if the product is not looking healthy? It's not getting as purchased as often as it should be, and it's not getting used that often. And maybe right now, like let's say it's breaking even. Do you now go hire 3 more contractors and spend another 250K a year or 200K a year or whatever to uh, invest more in it and the hope that now this will make it more popular? Because if it doesn't, now you've just made something that was like break even negative. It's just it's a tough situation actually, and I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. So
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's doing well because I think it is a really cool addition to the league.
yeah, I'd be sad if it went away for sure.
But yeah, I don't know because I think I can understand where Mike Spam's coming from, and I would be surprised if he was the only person to feel this way. I think it's the kind of thing where people, when they feel this way, just say, okay, I won't renew it, and they don't make a big fuss, you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those silent problems that you won't hear about.
Yeah. Hey, Mike Spam, thanks so much for calling in. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. Thanks for having me, Travis.
Thanks for having coming on. I always appreciate you sharing your opinions.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Batdex in chat says it's legit only $15 per split. Why do people expect much more? It's not about thinking they deserve more content or anything like that. It's just that now that they have bought the product and used it, they realize they don't really like the product.
Yeah, it's
Some
like
people.
you don't. I agree that the value is actually okay. Like I think
Yeah.
compared to other sports products, the value is fine. The problem is like if I spend $15 on it and then I don't use it, I have wasted the $15. Even if I can conceptually agree, it's like if I buy
It's like
a
a gym membership for me. Like it's just never worth it because I'm not going to the gym.
yeah. Yes. Unlike
They should give
me,
me a
who goes to the
$1
gym twice a day, every day, I get a lot of
Yeah.
value from the gym. Mark
Yeah.
doesn't ever go to the gym.
Right. So like it's not saying like, oh, it's not a good value for people who enjoy it. I think it is a great value, but it's just there might not be enough people enjoying it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next caller. Thank you so much, Mike Span, for calling in. A couple quick shout outs. Looks like Ari Waddle, thank you for the 17 months. Rora Noah Poro, thank you for the 14. C Sears, thank you for the 14. Applicative Jones for 8. Dr. Manhattan for 20. Ross Stanky for the Prime. Calendar Guy 523. Rob Bear Toe for the 9 months. Soju Ninja for 13. Dan Syke for 4. Killing You Guy for 14. Bodies by Bert for 6. And Wrath of Khan for 13. We've got some more, and I'll get to those in just a second. But it looks like we've got our next caller. Ido is here. Ido, where are you calling from?
Calling from Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. And it says you are in a game of League of Legends.
TFT?
Maybe TFT. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Well, it says you've been playing for 48 minutes. That's a very long TFT game.
Yeah, I like to make sure I get 9 units every game, or else
Alright.
I hold everyone hostage.
All right. Well, what do you... sorry, remind me, where are you calling from?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. That's right. Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
So, from Rift Rivals, the argument used to be why EU is so much better than NA was that EU put in more effort and they cared a lot more, and it seemed like they made it more a part of their lives than NA seemed to. But after EU, like debatably trolled a lot and did things that I don't think that they would have done in a meaningful tournament, and still like kind of made a fool out of NA, I think it's proven that that's kind of not the case, that it's an effort of who cares more. So what I think the issue of why there's such a big disparity is that it's more of a bottom up issue than a top down issue in NA. And what I mean by that is like at Rift Rivals, you could see the top NA players like Double Lift and Bjergsen, I guess if you want to count Bjergsen as NA, were standing up pretty well to their lane counterparts in lane. But it was more like the middle of the pack and lower tier players on those teams that were really struggling. So I think the issue in NA is that the NA players don't make enough use out of the peripheral regions like LAN and CB LOL, which is kind of like a new concept, I feel like, that no one really talks about. And in Europe, you have the national leagues, which is kind of like their substitute for academy leagues. And then they also have Turkey, which a lot of people like find their success through, like Caps and Buipo. So I feel like NA, like the lower tier players that are looking to make a break into LCS, aren't putting forth the same effort and are really complacent on amateur or academy teams.
I'm not sure. So I have a couple of thoughts here. I'm not sure the comparisons are fair because if I live in France, I can join the French team. If I live in New Mexico, I can't really join a CB LOL team. I think the other thing is that, from my understanding, South America as a region is bigger from a player base perspective than North America. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard previously. Whereas like Turkey is probably not bigger than EU West. So I think the comparisons are not necessarily there. It sounds like you're suggesting like the DeMontes of the world should go play in CB LOL and then come back.
Yeah, I think that's pretty doable with how much pull nowadays, at least. That a lot of these, I don't know what you would want to call it, like riot governments have in getting visas for their player, like
Hmm.
work visas. We saw
Ye-
like even 2 years ago with Xmithy, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean just because Smithy was able to get a green card, which, by the way, he'd been living in the country for a very long time, doesn't necessarily mean that like DeMonte can get a Brazilian work visa.
Right.
But I have no idea.
Well-
I'm just saying I don't think those things are. Mark?
The other thing too is like, I think you're kind of right that it's a bottom up issue, but I don't think you fix that by sticking NA's upcoming talent in worse regions. I mean, we can make fun of NA as much as you want, but we still consistently outperform these emerging wild card regions. So I don't think Demonte is going to get better spending a split playing in Brazil or South America or wherever. I think
Hmm.
what happens in these other leagues in European, like the Turkish league and TCL and stuff, is that it's actually relatively competitive. They are a good region. Oops, did I drop?
No, you're good. Oh, your Skype video is weird.
Hello?
I
Hello.
can still hear you.
Whoa,
Mark, come back to me.
I'm back. We
Okay.
got an F's
He's
in chat.
alive.
Yeah, continue.
Are the F's from me or is it from you? Are we both? F'ing?
I can hear you, and the stream is up. We're fine.
Okay. Well, either way, I was just saying, I think you're right about the whole bottom up thing, but I think in Europe, they have better surrounding regions that they can potentially pull from, and even if it's not a whole region, at least like the leagues, like all these Spanish leagues and all the different stuff, it allows them to pull emerging players who have a good chance into this league that is the EU LCS instead of EU LCS sticking their players down there to develop. I think that's not what's happening. I think you're finding players from these regions in these other leagues and they're joining the LCS. And so like I don't think DeMonte benefits playing against worse teams for a year. I think everyone wants to play in the most competitive region that they can to get as good as fast as they're possible. So I don't agree about putting DeMonte elsewhere, but I do think it's a good point about um, where is all this EU talent coming from? Where there's always a next best mid laner or some new up and coming mid laner type thing,
Right. Yeah, I like how Demonte has kind of become the monomer for middle of the pack mid laner or bottom of the pack mid
Well,
laner.
he's like native North American talent.
No,
He's
yeah, I
shown,
get it, I
yeah,
get it.
like it's.
I feel you.
I mean, but it's just so indicative of a region's talent as a whole, and you can say the teams have their own fault in stagnating it, which I would agree with to a degree. But like, it's not like, oh man, there's this absolute stud in solo queue that's just not getting his chance because the NA teams are so incompetent. God, it's like we have Insanity. We have we just brought over Scarlet. He's technically Europe.
Yeah.
A Blaze Olive. We have Demonte. We have Yasuo. We have these guys we've had our eyes on. They've been on top of the solo queue ladder for years. And part of it is, of course, the team's fault. But like, it's not Nemesis. It's not Caps. It's not Yuzuki. It's not Nuke Duck, who's actually been around for a long time.
Whippo.
But like, we haven't. Yes, we haven't developed these talents, but there's not as many around for sure.
Right.
There's not as many to pull from. Even if you were the best region in developing talent, I don't think you would find as many as Europe is able.
So if we're working on the basis, like objectively or not, that EU does have more talent to pull from, let's work with that being objectively true. Do you think that we're on the right track and we just need time to develop our talent? Because you mentioned a couple players, Insanity, Yasui, Blaze Olive. At least Yasui has been swapped in for Phoenix quite a few times, I think 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had okay games. But do you think it's more of that we need to keep going through and keeping patient, where we need to cycle this guy in, he does pretty well, put him back down into academy, work on it, and then put him back up a couple weeks later? Do you think it's a cycle that we need to keep going through of that?
I think the best thing for young talent development is to put them in a situation where they can succeed with talent around them, and they are not threatened to lose their job.
Right.
I think what a lot of people get wrong is they test them. They put them in for a little bit, and then as soon as they start doing bad, they pull them like Yusui. Whereas I think what C9 has done, when they're like, you're the guy now, and then they do have these periods where like, okay, this isn't working, and they need to figure something out. But like Licorice was the guy, like it wasn't up in the air at all. People knew he was going to be good, and they were like, he's the guy. And they did that for a little bit with Smoothie until they were like, you know what, you're not the guy anymore. But they did that with him for a little bit. Once they had this trial period with Bunny and Sneaky, or Smoothie, excuse me, and then they picked him, and then they did a little again with Zazel, but then they're back to him. Whereas like this constant up and down thing, like for C9, that never really lasted more than the split. And I still don't like just too much swapping.
Well, and oftentimes you see the swapping coming out from teams that are at the
Losing.
bottom of the pack, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we are 0-4, so we're gonna bring in this academy player.
And then of course they lay an egg because they're on a bad team.
Yeah, and then it's bad, and they get discouraged, and their reputation looks bad because they're on a bad team. I think that was exactly what I was talking about or thinking about, Mark, when you brought up the C9 stuff. It's like, hey, C9 had a really good record. They had a great infrastructure, a proven infrastructure, and people like Reapered, and they were able to bring up these players that had been big picks for their academy team for a while. It's like, well, bringing in a mid laner instead of whoever your all-star mid laner is that's toxic as fuck and is pissing everybody off, and like being like, go, we're 0-5 this split, but now's your chance, prove yourself. It's just like, it's never, the chances of that succeeding are pretty slow or slim.
Right. So then let's so we've worked through the point of it's not viable for NA to have the same structure in talent scouting and upbringing that EU does, right? But so now we're on this topic of academy is what we have to work with right now, and it's definitely not a faulty system. But with teams like C9 Academy, TSM Academy, TL Academy, there might be one or two more. Honestly, I don't watch too much of the Academy League, but at least those three have a really solid infrastructure. All of them have LCS caliber coaches. I'm sure all of the LCS staff help out too in Academy when they need it. Do you think there needs to be more development and more infrastructure put down towards the Academy League so that those players can be successful?
One thing I have heard, sorry, Mark, the one thing that I've heard is that the academy teams kind of get pillaged a bit, where it's like there'll be support staff, but if the main team starts to fail, the support staff gets pulled from the academy team. Like, basically, you would let your academy team lose all split long if it meant you had, a 5% better chance of making it to playoffs or making it to Worlds or something. And so I think that's one of the problems, is that I've heard from multiple people that a lot of the academy teams just suffer from a development standpoint because the LCS teams can just be such a huge drain on anything happening there.
I mean, even TL, who you listed as a team with pretty good infrastructure, and I think they do have pretty good infrastructure, still had Michael Archerus kind of randomly become their coach last year. And no shade at Michael Archerus, but he's a manager, a good manager, who, because of whatever was happening, ended up in charge of that team. And I think the other thing is it feels like some players get locked into contracts because they're happy to get paid to be playing League of Legends, and then
I mean, Golden Glue would be a great starting mid laner right now, but he's on Cloud9 Academy, right? And
I didn't want to go around listing names, but there's
no, it's fine. I mean, like, I that's just, it's a fact of the matter is, like, it's unfortunate. Look, I'm happy for C9. They've got such a great academy team, and that probably is part of the reason why their main team, it does really well. But it's unfortunate that it does feel like we often end up with talent that are locked away in the academy league. It probably hurts the strength of the main league.
Yeah, I think there's no way Golden Glue should be an academy. No fucking chance. But he's there, and sucks.
I do actually want to bring up something that I see in chat too. Someone was talking about Sword. So if you guys, I'm sure
this will be the last take. We got to move on to the next. But go ahead. Say
Sure.
what you're gonna say.
So, for those of you in chat who don't know about Sword, TSM Sword is their, what do you want to call it, like developmental, their youth mid laner who is not old enough to play in Academy yet. So I think that is actually maybe the new world of player development, is catch them while they're like still in high school, haven't decided on college
Catch
yet.
them.
All right, we don't need to go down that
Like
road.
Pokemon.
We need to spot them when they are not yet in college and haven't decided.
This is a difficult phrasing conversation.
You're making it hard to phrase.
Recruit them. Just recruit them whenever they're in high school or support some sort of high school group or whatever.
There we go.
Yes. Because then you have a high school. Then you have like a more traditional sports path to pro, right? Where it's like, okay, you can play in high school and then you can go to either college or to academy and then you can go to LCS.
Doesn't C9 have one too?
Couldn't say.
They have had one in the past. I'm not sure if they do right now, but there has been times where they've signed a third team, which is often much younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. I think, people who just say like NA sucks because they're dumb. It's like, yeah, that's funny, but like if we're actually going to talk about it, it's obviously a complex issue, and I don't want to always reduce it to our player base is smaller, because it's obviously not that. There's a number of factors, and I think the misuse of academy, not giving younger players a like fertile ground, so to speak, to develop in when they get stuck into bad teams, because bad teams are just generally the ones who use new players. Like that kind of stuff all turns out. I think even Acadian, who was like a great jungler last split, was a guy who was around for years, like years before he really developed into that. And even then now, like he's been struggling with this whole jungle swap situation. So it's really hard to develop talent even when they're given good opportunities.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much, Ido, for calling in.
Hey, thanks for having me, brothers.
Any shout outs on as we say goodbye?
Am I allowed to shout out sponsors or?
I mean, my sponsors.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Alienware for hosting this great podcast with two lovely people.
Thank you.
We're a talk show. We're not a podcast.
What's
we
the
release
difference,
also
actually?
as a podcast. We're many things. Ido, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Shout out to Illinois.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good one. All right. Moving on to the next caller. Oh wow, we've got a lot.
Yeah, actually, there are a handful of good ones. I don't remember the order at all. So
Go. All right. Back to a couple shout outs. Wrath of Khan, thank you for the 14 months. Free Vanilla for 2. Girlish Menace for a whole year, 12 months. Thank you. Wild LOL for the 8 months in a row. Kitty Thumbnail Inc. Oh, great. That weird dude subbed and then gifted a sub to Bernie Sanders and then gifted 5 subs to the channel. So thank you, that weird dude 25. That's crazy. I'm sure Bernie Sanders will be really happy to have access to my emotes. And then Akron, thank you for the 6 months. Some more to go, but first we got Soju Ninja here. Soju Ninja, where are you calling from?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Have you called in before?
Yes, under a different alias. That was Tic Tac Toe Ninja.
Oh, okay. So I heard Tampa. Yes, exactly. You're dodging us. Thank you for being a sub. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
Well, it's a pleasure to be on the show again, of course. Especially just got a new Alienware M17 gaming laptop. Let me tell you, it's amazing.
Fantastic. But, did you use code Travis10 off to save at checkout?
I most certainly did. Certainly did.
Thank you.
All right. My topic was, though, that Mike Young going to Echo Fox. And I feel his aggressive play style may be similar to Rush, and that may do nothing for Echo Fox. But what I'm really intrigued is that he's been studying under X-Smithy, I assume. So maybe with his aggressive play style and maybe with better decision-making, he actually may do good for Echo Fox.
I don't have high hopes for Mike Young. Mark?
I was trying to be nice.
I don't know
this is your topic.
More detailed answer. I mean, I thought that we would talk also about, the business end of it. I don't know. But in terms of just how well Mike Young is going to do, I'm not super enthusiastic. I think he's better than what he showed at TSM. I don't know what happened there. That thing was a disaster. I don't think he is the Phoenix 1 Mike Young everyone wants him to be 100% of the time. Like, that's just like, yeah, he was like Jeremy Lin, Well, I mean, I actually hope he is like Jeremy Lin. people don't know, Jeremy Lin was a basketball player who came out of nowhere and like had one of the best like 5 games ever, like in a row at the beginning of his career, and then like kind of became pretty irrelevant, and then like he's a pretty good point guard now. That's what I'd love for Mike Young to be. Smash EU out of nowhere. Everyone loves him. He's not that good, but he's a serviceable jungler, and I hope that's what it becomes. But I think Echo Fox is all over the place with these roster moves. They're swapping their bot laners around. They're pulling out Solo, who seemed like their stud. They're getting rid of Rush, who was their big import. Like, this team's a fucking dumpster fire, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Where
Yep.
like I don't want to see new players on this team. So maybe Mike Young will become like Jeremy Lin, but this probably ain't the team.
Yeah, I mean that's what I meant. Is I don't mean to be mean to Mike Young, but it's the type of thing where he was on TSM. I know TSM junglers are a meme, but I don't feel like him then switching over to Academy for a short time and then let's go to Echo Fox, the team that looks like it's in a disaster state. I just worry that that's not gonna do very well. I think the transfer's interesting, I guess. I hope he does well. I want him to succeed. By no means do I wish him any ill will, and I think it'd be great if like Echo Fox had a big comeback when he came back, and then everybody starts talking about him again, and hey, it's great. But I don't know. I just feel like this is a side grade. Oh wait, Echo Fox is in the chat. I think it's gonna be great. Echo Fox is gonna do amazing. Oh, what was that? Did you
Was that
sneeze?
a sneeze or is that a laugh?
Oh, sneeze. Sorry.
Okay, it's
Wait,
okay.
where's Echo Fox? Did they post, or you just see their?
I see them in the users in chat thing.
Yeah.
Echo Fox is gonna do great.
I love Echo Fox. Don't get me
yes,
wrong. I'm just
exactly.
saying that. What are they? 1-7?
Yeah. They're in a tough spot right now. Soju, I mean, okay, so I feel free to rebuttal on us because both Mark and I are not enthusiastic, but you were a little bit more enthusiastic.
Oh no. I think it's a dumpster fire as well. I just thought it'd be interesting. Like, would he still be better than Rush? But still no hope for Echo.
I don't think it hurts. Like like if I'm looking at it from, Echo Fox fan perspective, I'm probably not upset because something's clearly not working on this team. So like I like when people try and make moves and swing for the fences. I think their moves haven't really made much sense. Initially, I was like, all right, they'll just use Phoenix and Apollo and Rush and try and continue on their synergy from spring when they made a playoff run. And then it's like, okay, they're using starters because they're not happy with 6th and they're looking towards the future. And it's like, okay, their starters are back from before, but they're obviously much more upset because they're getting benched. And now, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I like that they're at least trying stuff when they're clearly not working. And I mean, Rush's career feels pretty over after this move. And I don't mind that both parties are like cutting ties before then, just being like, you know what, it's over, just let me out.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what's going to happen to Rush. I don't know if we have a topic about that, but
I mean, we can talk about it right now.
I mean, it's kind of a bummer because I really liked him and I thought his return to North America was really exciting, and now I'm just kind of like, well, that was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel too. But hopefully he just like, I don't know what he seems like a pretty complicated person in terms of like what makes him happy and stuff like that. Despite his like happy-go-lucky nature,
Right.
or like persona. I would love for him just to be a streamer in North America. I fucking love watching him. And
Yeah.
I'd love to see him around and at events and stuff like that. But it's never seemed like, despite how good he is at that's what he's wanted to do. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Does
bad.
them freeing up? Does that free up an import slot? Does that do anything for them with their roster in your eyes?
It allows them to run Mike Young, Phoenix, and Lost. But I don't know why that would be suddenly better.
Okay.
But yeah, it does give them a little bit more roster flexibility.
Well, I'm not sure if there's too much more we can say about it, but hopefully it does get better for them. And I do wish Mike Young the best. Thank you for calling in, Soju Ninja.
Thank you. May I give a shout out to one of your mods?
Sure.
Baby Mochi, one of the best mods in the world. Give a shout.
Never heard of him. Thank you
Mila?
for calling in. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. It's a joke. Bye. All right. Moving on to
a little shout out. Or are we
the
gonna
next.
keep moving on?
Oh yes, good call. Mark, how
Yeah.
are you?
Good.
You gonna ask how I am?
No, you want to know how Nyako is?
Yeah, tell me.
He's a little sleepy boy. He's a little sleepy boy. Look at him sleep.
Well, you know what? He'd probably be more excited if he was aware of alienware.com/. Whose hand?
That's my hand.
If he was aware of alienware.com/Travis, an amazing website where you can buy amazing products. And guess what? The M15 and M17, the new M15 and M17s, they're up now. You can get them in Lunar Light, which is fantastic. And I believe, let's actually, maybe I can go over there and check it out. But I've heard a rumor that there are some additional discounts. Black Friday and July early access. You go over there right now, you can see they've got an exciting event that's happening. Their stuff is marked down. You can get a bunch of stuff. You can use Travis 10 off, but be sure to also go to alienware.com/Travis beforehand, because there's some great deals that they're running right now on some amazing computers, including the Area 51M, the M15s, the Aurora, the Area 50. It's all over there right now. It's got some great stuff, and so this is a big thing that they run in July. Go check it out. They support the show. They support LCS. They support Team Liquid. They support all these different. They're really doing a bunch of cool stuff. Spent a bunch of time with them over this past week because they were in town with Rift Rivals. Fantastic people, and they just really care about doing cool stuff for League of Legends community. So I'm hoping that you guys can do cool stuff by them by checking out their deals. Look, maybe you're not in the market for it now, but just go take a look at them. You know, see what they got, and then maybe. Later on you will be in the market. You'll know about what they're doing, or you can recommend it to a friend. It helps me out a ton. It helps Mark out. He doesn't see it directly, but it does help him. Anyway, check it out. Alienware.com/Travis. Thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. And be sure to check out their new deals. Fantastic stuff over there. Thank you. All right. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to grab another caller. Off Mark goes. Back to some shout outs. Ollie1, thank you for the 11 months. By the way, that Weird Dude 25 gifted a sub to Echo Fox, which I thought was pretty funny. Did that as we were talking about them. Silent Bob 923, Terminal for 9 months. Fathom Dot, Rago, Mr. Fanatic 7, Ribbon Chew for 14 months, and Hype Love Shack, who just hit 1 year. Thank you, Hype Love Shack. Dopest is here. Dopest, you've been on the show before, correct?
Yeah, I was on the last one.
That's what I thought. They all kind of bleed together over time as my mind.
Yeah,
falls
I was
deeper and
here
deeper into
last
despair.
time, got hard flamed for saying that NA would be top 2 region next year.
Oh, yes. Well, good to have you back. I'm excited for what you got for us tonight. What do you want to talk? Oh, first off, remind me where you're calling from.
Boise, Idaho.
Boise, that's right. Let me know, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So I want to talk about Rift Rivals now that it's over, and kind of how I think that Rift Rivals could be improved, because I feel like there are some benefits to it, but I just feel like the placing of it is kind of bad, and it really doesn't benefit either region massively. The players obviously don't like it, so yeah.
So why do you think the players don't like it?
So watching both your interviews, Lokodoka's interviews, a lot of different people like talk to the players. They all mentioned that they really weren't excited for the event. I think the EU teams kind of showed some questionable drafts when it came to their viewing it as a competitive experience. I mean, haven't really ever heard a player, except maybe Reckless, from what I remember, talk about any reason to be excited to play for the event or anything. So I don't know. I didn't really get the vibe from any of the players that they were really excited about it.
So the ironic thing is, I don't think they're necessarily excited about the games, but they do have a lot of fun at Rift Rivals. I can tell you that. They get excited about it. I think, Mark, you probably picked up on some of that too, yeah?
Yeah, I think they are enjoying it the most when they're not on stage.
Yeah.
And eat
Kinda
food,
how-
Which is
baby.
ironic, by the way, because that is actually when I am enjoying Rift Rivals the most. Like, the content around Rift Rivals was so fun. I was really excited by the stuff that I made, really excited about the Hotline League, but also it's fun when Riot's airing videos that are like Perks and Peter next to each other on screen, shit-talking each other. And I actually think it does a lot for the rivalry. So sorry, I know we kind of interrupted you, but you said you had some ideas on how to make it better.
Yeah. So, Rift Rivals, in my opinion, kind of showed us that we can win, I think, in international competition, at least when it comes to TL, who I think showed that they were really strong. Granted, it was mostly on Sonatarek, but I think even in the last game when they did a straight composition versus G2, they just flat out won. And I think that was really encouraging. Also seeing TSM really commit to an all-in playstyle despite all the mechanical mistakes, but really contest Fnatic was also exciting to see. So I think like it has benefits, but I think a better way to implement it would be to maybe make it like a pre-worlds like mini tournament, or maybe part of All Stars. Or like a way you can integrate it into All Stars is you maybe like one option would be maybe making all three all-star teams from each region or something, where like it wouldn't be directly just TSM, C9, and TL. You would kind of do like how we vote for our all-star teams. That might give an opportunity for players that did really well, like Santorin last split, to maybe come into one of those all-star teams. Or you could just invite the team straight up and then just make All Stars a longer tournament where one section's the for fun, and then the other stuff would be you'd have like all those three top teams, which in most cases are usually the more popular teams, and then you have some extra players you would also invite that are maybe popular that didn't quite make it into the top three to come and do content and stuff. And then another thing would be maybe like integrate it into the regular season in some way. I don't really know 100% how, because we got rid of the third place match, and we kind of have. I feel like if you're gonna like sell at a stadium and have it in one place, it would be kind of. I just think it would be kind of interesting to do like something like that, maybe where we could do when it's not like either finals have like some type of meeting or tournament pre-worlds, because I don't know, like maybe like help like determine who goes in play-ins too. You could
I mean,
do
I
like
think what you're going through right now is the difficulty in figuring out where to place this event in the calendar, which is virtually
Exactly.
impossible. If you try to do it before Worlds, like that feels really random and it's probably not relevant to the tournament. And you know, these guys want to be scrimming and now they're playing this random thing. If you do it during All Stars is really fun, but it's also supposed to be a fun thing for all the different regions. And so you could have like a Rift Rivals-esque moment during that tournament, but it doesn't really feel the same way it does here. Like, it's just hard because I feel you that you want to find like the right place to put it and the right way to put the stakes, but it's very unclear to me that there is like an actual good way to fit this into the calendar beyond what it is right now.
Yeah, I mean that's why it is the way it is right now, is because there isn't actually a good answer. If you put it during All Stars, like it's just going to be the same three teams you saw at Worlds playing again. So it doesn't hype you up for anything. Those teams are going to blow up. Most of them are going to change. They probably already in the process of changing. No one wants their whole team to go there and play an event in the off season, because it just gets in the way of actually making off season moves. You do it if you do it right before, right after any international competition, you've already seen it. Like 5 weeks later is pretty good. You could argue it'd be better in spring, when there's just more generic hype and your teams haven't gone anywhere yet. But to me, it's the same problem, just in a different place. Whether
The
it's
only
early,
the only time I could kind of see it working maybe is like, what if you kicked off the season with it?
right? I
That'd
mean,
be
that would be the best, but it's still pretty miserable, I think, for some of these teams who are like rushing to get their players signed, rushing to get them all in time, getting all the paperwork done,
It's getting
and then
scrims
playing.
going so you're ready.
Yeah, and then you have to go play in this tournament, which people are going to take way too seriously. And how do
I
you
don't
decide the top three teams that go, because there hasn't been any precedence yet, so you don't know if you're even sending good teams. Um, like it would still be fun, but and maybe it fits in the calendar a little bit better, but then it doesn't really serve the purpose of like our best versus EU's best,
Yeah.
winner take all grudge match, because it's like, well, we sent 100 Thieves who actually suck. We picked them because they were our top team last year. We thought they'd be good again. They weren't, which is unfortunate. I don't think people would enjoy that.
That's why I'm kind of partial to it being in some way integrated into play-ins, or possibly a cap off after the finals. It's really hard maybe for Korea and China, because I know that those are a little whack, but maybe in the LEC and LCS you could do it as kind of a a cap off if you do the finals for those regions, and
I
then
mean, I can just tell you,
afterwards would
no
do it?
pro player, as much as they hate, sorry to interrupt, as much as the pro players hate doing it in the middle of the summer, or it's like kind of annoying to them, you're going to tell these guys after they got eliminated in groups, you all have to come together and play this as a cap off after the finals have already occurred. And also, half those players might not be on those teams anymore because, and they're
Well,
also. Oh, go ahead.
He's saying like right before Worlds, right? Like
Well, he was saying
after.
either. I thought. Sorry, Dopest. Were
So
you saying
that's
before or
regional.
after?
Yeah, I was thinking like after the finals of both LEC and LCS. So at that time, it would theoretically be the top 3 strongest teams, and you kind of do that as a supplement, considering we got rid of the 3rd place match. That doesn't really work as well, maybe with LEC structure. But I mean, you basically do it so that guaranteed to have the best teams, and it would be shortly before Worlds, and then maybe you could integrate some form of benefit because it is like the end thing before you start Worlds. Maybe like whoever wins Rift Rivals doesn't have to have their last place team play in play-ins or something like that. That's where I was talking. I just didn't explain it very well.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean, I see what you're saying. I think I like the idea a little bit, but it still has a host of problems for me where it's like most of these guys need time off right now before they go super hard in boot camp. People aren't going to be taking it seriously unless it super matters. And even then, you don't want to reveal any strategies if it's too close to Worlds, but if it's too far away from Worlds, like people aren't really going to be playing. Like they'll be super burnt out. And you're not giving them the break that they need because now they're traveling before they have to go boot camp in Korea or something like that. Like
For sure.
it feels. I mean, like there's a reason that it's in the middle of the split because it's just boring enough around it. Like the problem is if you put it too close to the beginning or the end of other splits, there's other cool shit happening and you don't care about this thing. So you put it right in the middle of summer, which is usually pretty boring, and it gives people a reason to care. Problem is now it's in the middle of summer.
I mean, I just wish, honestly, I think the only problem with the tournament right now is that the pro players don't feel like they need to try hard, and it comes across in both in the games and in the content that happens. Other than that, I actually like the fact that we had a break in the middle of summer split. I would have much rather had Rift Rivals last weekend than week 5. I think it does give us a bunch of stuff to talk about going into next week. Now it feels like the story around like, is TL the best? Are they not? Like they showed up
I think
way
it's a
more.
good kick in the pants for the losing region heading into Worlds.
For sure.
And I think it is generally fun. I don't know. I don't know how to make it interesting. Maybe you just stick a ton of money attached to it. Maybe there's just a giant prize pool, or maybe there's some sort of in-game thing that you get, or maybe everybody gets like give them something to fight for. And I feel like that's what it would be. I
think that'd be a good thing. Like make this like maybe you don't want to crowdfund Worlds too. Well, I mean they kind of do. I don't know, but I agree. You have to make this tournament worth it.
The losers have to do something really embarrassing. It doesn't even have you're fighting against something instead of fighting for something.
It was kind of an afterthought, but what would you guys think about maybe my suggestion where like the losing region would have to send their last place team into play-ins instead of, I think it's like MSI
that
is what determines
awful.
that.
It's not good because people like this tournament's fun for fans to shit on each other, and it's good for pro players to hopefully improve and learn something. But you don't want to make it matter too much. Thing to make this matter in the grand scheme of Worlds. I really don't like that idea. I don't think it should. I like Travis's idea of just make this tournament mean more for this tournament by having a nice prize pool or something. Because otherwise it's just is this really weird, like, oh, I'm supposed to really try hard for this, but it's also at a time where I'm supposed to be focusing on improvement the most in the middle of the split. What am I supposed to be doing now?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of a lag hiccup in the middle of Mark's rant, but I think we understand what he said.
I saw it. Yeah. Whatever. You got me.
All right. So, Dopus, thank you for calling in, though. And I think it was a good topic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one. Oh, wait. Anything you want to say on the way out? I always try to offer that.
No. Shout out to Alienware.
Hey.
I I don't own one. I bought a PC from your previous sponsor that will remain unnamed. But if I did need a computer, I would buy an Alienware. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day, guys.
Have a good one.
Peace.
Okay, we got 3 more calls to go.
Why are you smiling? What are you laughing at?
I'm smiling at what he was saying just now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Trust me, I have nothing to smile about these. Oh, he's gone. I'm so fucking miserable. Oh, that's right. You guys are still here. You guys can hear me. Mark can't. Okay. That weird dude gifted a sub to EchoFox GG. Coco Sanchez resub for 16 months says thank you, Alienware. Just a po' boy for the 2 months. Purple Ray Q for 15. UCF Xanth for 2. And Mark is back. Mark, you missed nothing. Spaggle, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Canada, small city called London.
London. You know who else is from London?
Hotshot
A lot of
GG.
great bands.
Yes, Hotshot GG. Spaggle, what do you want to talk about on the show?
So first of all, first time live caller and live viewer. I've always just listened through other platforms. I love both of your content. It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I want to talk about how EU imports will like decrease in the upcoming years and how NA will have to resort to unknown talents, kind of like Scarlet, as opposed to bigger names
Well,
because
Scarlet
of the
is at
strength
EU,
of-
or you mean unknown talent from Europe?
yeah, unknown talent from Europe.
Okay, sorry,
And
continue.
then because of the strength of income in EU after franchising and the performance of teams with bigger name EU imports from Europe, and how NA will be relegated to picking up players from like maybe the National League. Additionally, I think some of the EU imports that we have now that are like more popular and more well known might return to Europe, including Sven and Froggen, possibly Bjergsen with a lot of the backlash that he's received in the past. But I don't think Sven, Jensen, or Niski will leave. And it's just like a culmination of EU's performance at Worlds, MSI, and somewhat Rift Rivals, although I don't think it's that serious. I think a lot of them will go back following like Forbidden and how he left.
I'm sorry, Spaggle. Did franchising turn Berlin into the beautiful paradise that is Los Angeles with amazing food?
Yeah, I didn't realize they got tacos with franchising.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they could import them.
On a serious note, that's.
I mean, by the way,
I'm
I'm
about importing cuisine.
yeah.
You're importing people who make it, or the food, or how are you doing this?
Is this your serious note?
Yeah. No, the serious note was I don't want to look at the specific, like who might go, who might not go, and get like too into the nitty gritty. I just want to say like European players have been going to and from North America since season 4. Like Amazing came over, and
Edward.
went back, and now he's back again. Edward did it. That was season 3 even. There's been a handful of European players who come over and back, and they go back and forth. And there's never been a mass exodus. Forbidden did it recently. Who knows? Maybe Froggen does it. Maybe a couple do.
Yeah, it's not like LPL and LCK where like the LCK players went over to China and then like 2 years later all went back to LCK.
Right. So I don't think there'll be a mass exodus. But I do think what you're saying about it becoming harder to get top EU talent might be true. Like, could we have gotten Sven and Mithy if franchising was in place already at Europe? Maybe not. Who knows?
Here's a question for you, Mark.
Okay.
Does Bjergsen stay in North America at the end of this year? Because I believe, and I was wrong last year, but I thought last year was it. But I believe this is the year where his contract is up with TSM.
And then he renegotiates again.
Yes. I mean, or he could talk to other teams.
Got a contract extended.
I don't know.
I saw a tweet. He was a younger guy.
I don't know.
Got a contract extended. I forget. I don't think Bjergsen leaves.
Why doesn't he?
Do you think it's possible that Sven would leave?
I think it's possible Sven would leave. I think I think he enjoys NA, but I don't know how much. And I think he wants to leave on a good note. 'Cause he feels like that kind of person who doesn't want to go out the wrong way. And like so far, he has struggled to be the player he was in Europe. I still think he's really, really, really good, and I think he's a great player. But like, he has those moments, like the Skarner moment, and stuff like that, where he has these really big mistakes that I felt like he almost never made back in Europe. So maybe there's a part of him that wants to like taste victory in NA before going back to EU. Who knows? Maybe TSM's not happy with him and they let him go. Who knows? You know, anything could happen. But I just don't think it'll be like Europe's the better region. They play better. They have more money now. Who would ever want to live in NA? You know, I'm sure some people will go back and we'll get some more people. And like you said, using like the TCL and the smaller leagues in Europe is not even a bad thing in my mind. Like, I actually would love if everyone found Scarlets and Broken Blades and used Academy to bring in imports and test them out before they actually stuck them on stage, especially younger imports. Like, I love that idea. You know, as
Mark-
much as I love bringing over Febiven, I also love bringing over Scarlet.
Mark, sorry, just on this topic, why do you think Bjergsen doesn't go back?
Okay, why do you think Bjergsen does?
Because I think Bjergsen wants to win. His contract, which he signed for a very long time, is now expiring. I think he was under contract for, like, I believe the last one he signed was probably a 3-year contract. I could be wrong, but at the very least, it was a long-term contract. TSM is no longer the most popular team. I mean, I know maybe he likes LA, but also does he? I don't. You and I both know, Soren. I don't feel like he goes out very much. You know, like, is it? And now, by the way, the money could be just as good, if not better, in Europe. Like, what if he could join Fnatic? What if TSM, for instance, doesn't qualify for Worlds this year, and he gets an offer to join Fnatic, who maybe makes semis this year?
I mean, I love Bjergsen, don't get me wrong, but like, what top European team needs a fucking mid laner, dude? That's what they shit out there. Why would you bring Bjergsen over, who's going to cost ass loads of money to bring over, who's going to need to get acclimated to your team? Like, one, I even with better money, outside of Fnatic and G2, which teams have money? Maybe Origin to pay him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
they
I don't know
him
enough
enough.
about the European landscape, but it does seem as though franchising should have boosted their salaries tremendously, and that is kind of what I have heard.
Right. So like, one of them would need to go all in on Bjergsen, but then is he playing on a top team? If he's going across the Pacific to win, doesn't he only go for Fnatic or G2? Are
Maybe.
either of them going to give up their mid laners for him?
I mean,
probably
how attached is Fnatic to Nemesis?
I would imagine relatively he's really good.
Okay.
I mean, like, he's not going to go join fucking Splice.
I mean, no. I just it's just an interesting question to me.
I'm sorry, chat's throwing out some EU teams. I'm like, you think he's going with fucking Splice?
It's just an
or
interesting
Vitality?
question to me, because I feel like this is the type of thing where, you know, everyone thought Doublelift would never join TSM until he suddenly did. I'm
Yeah.
looking at a situation with Bjergsen where life is not as good for him as it was before. He's got to be wondering how long he's going to keep playing. And are the glory days for TSM over? I don't know, but like, let's say they don't make it to Worlds this year, that'd be 2 years in a row he doesn't go, and you just have to, like, if then the argument that you're telling me is, well, there's not going to be a spot for him in Europe, which just sounds. I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's just like, it would be crazy for me if, like, the reason Bjergsen stays at TSM is like he can't find a spot that he's happy with in Europe.
I think it's not that he can't find a spot for him in Europe. It's just that it's not like Europe doesn't have a spot for him. He won't want to go across the ocean to deal with that on a team that's not good. He wants to join a winning team, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And if none of the top teams have a spot for him, I don't see him making that huge move to do it.
All right.
But you know,
Well, the
maybe
great
I'm
news
wrong.
is
maybe he
that
does join.
no one will
Origin.
remember this conversation unless it happens, and then I will be able to be like, I knew all
When
along.
Bjergsen signs his contract in 3 weeks and say, "We extended Bjergsen's contract again," you know.
Yeah.
Also, people said Sven gets by in his glory days. That's horseshit. He's still good. He's still really, really good. He's just not as good.
it seems like a confidence issue for him where he's like stuck on Ezreal, even though like his history, he's played other champions like Caitlyn and he's performed well. But here in North America, he's been relegated to just playing Ezreal every game.
I feel like
I don't know if it's a meta problem or if it's something else, but it seems like confidence.
He's played 3 games of Sona, 3 games of Sivir, 3 games of Lucian, 2 games of Ezreal, 2 games of Caitlyn.
I'm looking more back to like last split. I haven't been able to watch games live.
Well, Ezreal was broken last split. That's not really fair. When double tier was a thing, I don't know. Forget it. Let's move on.
Hey, our whole conversation was Europe's all going to leave North America. I'm trying to think if we have any final thoughts on it. I don't think Europe is going to leave. European players are going to leave North America. I was kind of joking, but kind of not, by the way, whenever I said Berlin is going to... The European players who come over here for Rift Rivals and elsewhere, they love it. Just the lifestyle is fantastic, and the food is great, and I know that sounds like petty or simple, but like people actually do, like, if you've been playing in Berlin for 3 years and you're kind of feeling, ready for something different, and a Cloud9 or a TL or a TSM hits you up, maybe you're like, hey, this is a chance to live in California for 2 years of my life. That might be kind of fun. People do stuff for that all the time. So I think there's other factors at play. Spaggle, anything that you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Just wanted to say that once again, I appreciate all your content. I wanted to say I do think that the national leagues are something that any team should really consider because, like Mark said, they have good players on them. Like they brought over Scarlet. I know that Leader and Larson were picked up by EU teams along with, I think, Kire, and they've all shown to be really good in their national leagues and possibly good in LCS. Like I said, I haven't been watching much live. And shout out to Mark's cat and shout out to Alienware.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for the call.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, 2 more callers to go. Let's see. Did we get Kermit Sudoku at 18 months? That's crazy. And Auntie something. Thank you for the 6 months. I'll just call you Auntie. Brawler Yukon for 10 months in a row, and Darking for 17 months. Keep up the great work. Love some of the most recent videos. Darking says love some of the most recent videos. What the fuck is that? Flowsy is here. Flowsy?
Yeah, Flowsy.
Flowsy. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. Oh, another Chicago caller. We got a lot of Chicago folks on recently. Hey, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
So I want to bring up something that I thought was really interesting from the live Hotline League this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was what Grabs was talking about briefly about how all the players on G2 really respect each other and that they think that they're the best in their own respective roles, and how that's sort of, obviously the best part of that is that they are literally the best in their roles, but just on a interpersonal team building level, it's hard for them to be truly toxic to one another because if they flame each other, at the end of the day, they're like, okay, but know your shit because you're super fucking good. But I feel like the opposite is really common in NA, especially with how many that we import and how they have these huge storied careers. We import all these world's champions and then bring them to teams like 100 Thieves or Echo Fox or whatever. There's this dynamic that is created where you have one person who is super good and has this incredible career, and then you'll have Saligo or some shit in the mid lane.
Okay.
It creates a dynamic, right, where it's Bang is flaming someone, and then everyone's like, well, we have to listen to Bang because he's probably right because he's super good. And then it's just NA that are importing Korean imports, it's got to be super toxic by default because no one feels comfortable flaming each other, unlike teams like G2 or Origin or Fnatic, where everyone feels And then I guess the closing thought to this whole ramble, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long, is TL and maybe 2017 TSM might be the only teams that have had that vibe of mutual respect. I can't think of very many other NA teams where everyone was oh yeah.
So your main argument is North America is incapable of building teams where everyone can feel mutual respect for each other because there's already strange balances of power on those teams. It
Yes,
sounds like.
exactly that.
Muted. Sorry, I'm muted. I was trying to respond to that.
No, go ahead.
Can you give me some other historical examples of European super teams that didn't have balances of power issues?
I feel like some of the Fnatic, like when Fabivin was over there. And
Yeah,
like,
what were the 2015 European
So
teams?
there's the 2015 Origin
mhm,
and Fnatic, which were both very good.
yeah,
Then you had this one, and then maybe you could argue 2018 Fnatic. So what, 4 teams over the course of 8 years? You know, I don't really think this is an EU or NA or any specific team problem. I think it just speaks to
yeah,
how hard it is to find 5 of the best players in their region who don't have to look across the rift at someone who's going to play better than your top laner consistently.
right,
You know,
right,
like every team has had this struggle. Every region has had this struggle. It's, you know, for NA, like you said, you had Super Team C9, and even they argued a lot. But you know, they all respected each other. You have Super Team TSM in 2017. You have TL now. You know, it's like what we've had 3, they've had 5, I guess, in terms of super teams that should be able to get along great, but sometimes still don't. It's not even a Western problem. It's a fucking 5 guys trying to compete to be the best in the world and having differing opinions problem. It's not a cultural thing. Teams have these problems on SKT. They've talked about them before. Read a Piglet interview or Coma interview about this stuff. It's just what happens when you have 5 people playing a very difficult game.
yeah,
And I think when you do get the rare occurrences where there is legitimate mutual respect between all 5 members, that's when you get to see really incredible things happen, which is what's happening with G2. But I think it's weird to take that lesson and be like, oh, all the rest of the world needs to do is also build super teams. You know, like it's not really a
yeah.
blueprint that you can just follow.
I guess when you when you repeat it back to me like that, it does sound pretty fucking stupid. Like,
Well, no,
I'm
it's not
not
stupid.
trying to make you.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
think
saying,
it's.
like, I think
Go
I
ahead.
I
see
think
what
it's
you're
important
saying.
to recognize that like this is the exception, not really the rule. Like it's very
Right.
hard to crack. Like even TL last year, which was a fucking great team, you could tell that there were problems between Ole and Doublelift and Pobelter and the rest of the team at international competition. Like cracks form, and it's just very natural. It's super natural, and it's about how well you can work despite those. And when you do get the super team where it's TL and everyone's super good, and even then, like if you hear them, if you get them drunk and get them talking about their teammates, they'll flame some of them sometimes for fun. You know, like even on the super teams, um, you know. But the important thing is when they get on stage, they trust each other, and
And let's
that's
be clear, Mark gets players drunk all the time and gets them to flame their teammates. That's his hobby.
not on camera as much as I want to.
Yes, I know. I know. At first, I thought you were saying not on camera as a defense, and then I realized you were saying it as a complaint. You're like, yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't do it on camera, and it's frustrating that I don't. You know, that's great. Um, but yes, I do agree with Mark here. I think what the other side of it though is, it is we've seen super teams fail, but when they don't fail, I think this is a huge advantage because you just have all 5 of these guys and they all know that they're super good, and that's what allows it. You know, it's like this buff that you get, a buff
Yeah.
very similar to the type of buff you would get from a game mode in League of Legends that Mark has told me I'm not allowed to make jokes about.
Yeah, you're not. And to be fair, I think teams can win without having the 100% greatest 5 players in their role every single time, because like Travis was saying, super teams have failed in the past. You've had very successful teams that were playing around a specific player. H2K, for example, when they were using Forgiven, like it was built around him and he has a strong personality, and it was fine. for the most part.
No, it
Mid
wasn't.
semifinals of the World.
That
It
was
wasn't
the shit
fine.
I heard was like they had to quarantine him off from the rest
They
of the
made
team.
semifinals at Worlds. It's workable, I guess.
Okay, I just
I'm not saying
fine
it's
is not the way I would describe
Fine
that
Fine's not the right
situation.
word. It's workable. You can win and do well with imbalanced.
Yes. Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like obviously a super team is super hard to assemble, and then like the next step is then like it's a super team where everyone like G2 does or maybe TL does now. So I guess like to tweak my question a little bit more because I am interested, especially since
Well, we have to
Marcus might have
wrap
some
up, so
insight.
just go for it quick.
Sorry, like a team like TL with Piglet, how like I have to imagine part of the dynamic there was Piglet just thinking that he was a team full of like people that didn't really fucking get it when he's Piglet.
Here,
coming into
I'll
NA.
let Mark handle what it was like working with Piglet. Mark is grinning right now because he knows.
I mean, I don't need to spill any tea. I'm just gonna say that, like, yeah, it's hard when people don't respect their teams, and those are usually the teams that seem to blow up out of nowhere despite having plenty of skill on the roster. It's just a negative spiral you go down, and that definitely happened with that roster. 2015 TL was one of the most talented rosters in the league at the time, and despite finishing first in the regular season, we had pretty bad internal issue that held us back from our potential.
Great answer. Hey, Flozy. Wait, how did you say it again?
Flozy.
That's what I thought. Okay. Hey, Flozy, thanks so much for calling in. Do you have anything you want to say as we say goodbye?
Yeah, shout out to all of your content, both you and Mark, and I really appreciate your coverage of BlizzCon last year. Actually, it was really super interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
feel like
normally I feel like my league audience doesn't watch my BlizzCon content.
and totally, I think they will continue not to, and that's unfortunate. But I thought like the story about with CU and stuff, I had no idea about like the WoW tournament stuff, and I thought that was like kind of interesting. But anyway,
yeah. Thanks, dude. Have a good one.
Take care. Yeah.
Thanks. All right, one final caller to go.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to find. Oh, Mark left, but if you guys could tell me who has tank tops. I've been trying to get outdoors more lately, and I will wear team tank tops because I didn't have any tank tops. I bought one yesterday, actually 2 days ago, and it's really refreshing here in LA to wear a tank top. Bobby is here. Bobby, where are you calling from?
I'm from Central Arkansas.
Central Arkansas.
Yes.
What's it like there? Paint me a picture.
Very hot.
Hot. Is there grass or is it mostly dry?
Yeah, mostly grass. A lot of cows.
A lot of cows. Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Dope has kind of already touched on it, but I was thinking like Rift Rivals could have more Worlds implications. Maybe like the winning region gets an extra slot to go to Worlds.
The Rift Rivals conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
So, everyone was saying that teams just kind of don't really care about it. Like subconsciously, they might not. So even if Rift Rivals, like if we could make it to where, say, the winning region gets a play-in spot, so they have 4 teams that go, I think they would care a little bit more just in case they don't do well in the summer split.
Yeah. I think, by the way, I see somebody in chat saying this is the same take as before. No, it's not. We didn't really talk about this. We talked about, what could you do, but we didn't really talk about, what this specific thing. So I'm happy to have the conversation, especially since we just got done with Rift Rivals. And you guys in chat who aren't happy to have that conversation can go. Wait, oh, hang on. Wait, where is it? You can go yourself. Did that work that time? Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, thank God. I haven't used that button in a while. Anyway, okay, the only concern I have here is that then we're sending 40% of our teams to Worlds, and that feels not very exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, we're getting one of their spots, so they only send 2, right?
I was just thinking maybe like add another play-in team. So not necessarily take away from another region, just restructure it to where another slot gets added.
Are you doing this for every Rift Rivals team as well? Because there's a Rift Rivals
yeah,
that go
like
on across the globe, right?
yeah. So the Chinese one, the China, Korea, and LMS one, that kind of messed up for me because they added Vietnam. But if they did just those three, they could have like say their finalists. Instead of having one slot, they could maybe have two slots. So like if you win the semifinals and then you get the bye in the Rift Rivals, like say China did really well in the group stage, they get the bye. They also get the slot, and then Korea beats out the LMS teams in the semis, then they also get a slot. So maybe it could counter out that way.
I
Yeah,
just.
it feels like.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
No, you go, Travis.
I was gonna say, I feel like Worlds is so fucking big right now. It's like it goes on forever. There are a ton of teams, and by the way, as these other regions start to come online, like Vietnam and others, like you're gonna have to give them more access to it as well before you probably before you give North America like a fourth slot. So I think that's my big concern is like I think oftentimes anytime there's a situation in like a tournament or whatever, it's like, well, what if we added another thing to Worlds or oh, actually we want to use best of 3 in the group stage or whatever, and I'm just like, please, like I want to downsize Worlds. I don't even want to make it bigger. It's just such a pain in the ass. So that is my biggest concern with this is now we're sending 40% of our league potentially, and or Europe is. And we've got even more teams, and it just seems like it's a huge problem.
Yeah, I think you have to, if you want to add Worlds implication to this, you have to be able to do it without inherently changing Worlds, unless like Travis was saying, you're slimming it down somehow. Like, the loser of Drift Rivals only sends 2 teams. Sorry, you suck. Like, but even then, I wouldn't really love that. It just feels like, all right, well, maybe we're worse, but like maybe we're better than the other half of the world. So like just because we're worse than Europe, who might be the #1 region right now, we have to send out one less team. That feels weird. I think
Mhm. I just think that like it would be kind of cool seeing like the 4th place team play like say Vietnam's representative. I think it would make plans a little bit more interesting, at least for the West.
yeah, but you have to do it symmetrically. So if you're making something more interesting for the West, you
Mhm.
have to make it more interesting for the East. Otherwise, why would we get to do something they don't? It has to be symmetrical, and then you start introducing all these extra teams. You're changing worlds, and you get this horrible knock-on effect. Here's an idea, Travis. Tell me how dumb this is. Okay. Winner of Rift Rivals has the ability to swap pools with anybody.
With anybody?
Well, with like the people they beat, right?
And who is it? It's the first seed that gets to do this?
Any first seed, the first seeds can swap. The second seeds can swap, and the third. I would have to think about this more. Hold on, because if I'm in a group with NA and EU, I can't take my EU. I can't take the NA team spot because then there's 2 EU in the group. So
they can swap with their own region. So so the first seed could pick either the second seed or the third seed and swap into their group. Right?
Yeah, but that's only helping the first seed, right? You want to be able to help the whole region.
Well, I don't think there's a way to help the whole region. And theoretically, by helping the first seed, you are helping the whole region. You're just not helping all the teams.
I mean, it gives you a reason to want first more, as if you need it more.
Yeah, but it's like I think it's crazy in a world where you're like, the teams can just rearrange themselves willy-nilly, because as you said, you have to start doing it symmetrically. So it's like Europe and China get to rearrange themselves all over the place,
and people are just shifting.
Yeah.
Like,
can you imagine?
So like,
you know how fucked up the group draw show is right now? Imagine what that group draw show would be like. And we're receiving word that LPL has decided to swap, but Europe wants to swap in this direction, and we're.
It's like they were trying to dodge IG, but they actually ended up in the same group.
Yeah, exactly.
IG. Like, isn't that awesome?
IG chased them to their group. That you asked me to tell you how dumb that idea is. It's really dumb, Mark. I've got to
but how fun is it? What is the dumb to fun quotient on
maybe they should be able to do something at All Stars. I don't know. I mean, if Rift Rivals is the for fun thing, maybe you attach it to All Stars somehow. I don't know. As in, like you have some effect that happens at Rift Rivals that goes to All Stars, or
one
maybe
team gets put. in the Holiday Inn, and the other people
Yes!
get put
I was
in
just
the
about to say that.
encore.
I
Yeah,
was
you
just
can
about to
stick
say
'em.
that. Is like, yeah, you get suites or you get shitty hotel rooms or something, and they create content
Yeah.
around the shitty hotel room. Although I don't know what brand would be excited to let the cameras come in and be like, "Ha, we're at the Motel 6." Great Bobby, was this the conversation
Home
you
of
were
the
hoping to
Losers.
have with us?
Not really, but it turned out well.
Okay.
Okay.
That's, I get that a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means you have good content.
Is this relationship going well? It's not what I wanted, but it's
Turning
fine.
out okay, yeah. That's what Mark's girlfriend says to him all the time. Bobby, thank you so much.
Look at the cat. All right, look at that cat.
But that's not your cat, that's her cat.
Hey, look at this. Look at this cat. Look
You
at our cat.
That cat is irrelevant. You had no effect on that cat being there. Your relationship is
He
a
turned away.
sham. Bobby, anything that you want to say as we say goodbye?
Shout out to Alienware. Shout out to Mark's cat, and go Cloud9.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you.
All right. The cat has returned.
He responds to me.
Yeah, that I really like that cat. Kobe asked me if we should get a cat because we were dog sitting, or I was dog sitting for 2 weeks. And at the end of it, he was like, "Oh, kind of wish we could get a pet." And I was like, actually, kind of okay with the idea for the first time in a very long time of getting a cat.
Did I see a picture of you with a cat? And I was
yeah,
like, I was gonna
Brodin's
tell you,
cat.
Get off my Twitter game. That's my move. Just
Yeah,
use
Brodin's
the
cat. The problem is, I think I'd really want. What are the downsides with that cat?
Honestly, this cat doesn't have downsides other than typical cats,
Okay.
which is like, he wants to be fed in the morning. Will meow at you if you don't feed him, and
But you can get
you
an
have to feed
automated
him
thing that
as well.
just feeds the cat at a certain time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be super lazy, you can get something that automatically scoops the poop and automatically feeds them at certain intervals, and
Yeah.
you can get something that automatically cuddles the cat if you don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
yes,
either,
yeah.
and
Yeah, that automatically cuddles the cat. That would be Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, there's
for me.
definitely times where he wants attention, and I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. But honestly, it's not that bad. He's probably
he
the best
seems
cat
really
ever.
well mannered. Brodin's cat will be super sweet, and then like last night I was petting the cat, super friendly, just purring, everything's great, and then suddenly just freaked out and bit my arm, and like
Had it wrong.
exactly. Well, that's what Brodin told me. He's like, after you hang out with this cat for a long time, you learn that there are random spots on the cat that are not allowed to be pet.
No, this dude doesn't give a shit. You fuck with his ears, he's cool with it.
Yeah,
You
no,
rub
exactly.
his
He's
face
into
like
it.
this, he's
Yeah.
just like whatever.
Yeah. Can I
Yeah,
just
he's
have that
awesome.
cat?
No. Ashley raised
How
this
much do
thing
you
from
want for
birth.
it? I've got an entire
She put a lot
half.
of work into making him the best cat ever.
I've got an entire half a year's worth of Mark Zimmerman day rate invoices sitting in my bank account right now. So
Wait, you're gonna pay me with my own money?
well, I'm just saying you're not taking it from me, so it's sitting in my account.
So
I
you're
can.
gonna hold my cat hostage so you can pay me.
Yes, I don't know if that's how that works, but by the way, can you send an invoice because it's been a while?
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this
Let's
guy.
find out before the show ends. Let's find out the last time Mark Zimmerman sent me an invoice for this
All right, let's do
because
that right now.
he likes to just wait until I'm like, cool, I've like booked this and everything's good, and then it's then Mark's ready to. Then I need to pay him, and then I just have no money. Okay, the last time you invoiced me was February 19th.
How long has it been? How many months is that?
Almost 5 months, Mark. Mark, do you know how much money I have
that
to
is?
pay you?
Do you have it? Are you ready for the invoice? Or do you need some time to get the funds together?
I know how much it is because I'm looking at this invoice, which was 20 episodes, and we've definitely done more than 20 episodes, and this is a lot of money, Mark.
Do you have the money prepared, or do you need some time to get it?
Send the invoice, and I'll figure it out. I'll get the money from
I don't
somewhere.
want to bankrupt you, dude.
I'll get the
Don't
money
steal
from
my
somewhere.
cat.
Yeah. What? How would stealing the cat solve the
I don't
issue
know.
for
you,
me?
You were trying to make it work before.
No, I was saying I have a ton of money in my bank account because you haven't invoiced me. And yeah, how do you not? All right, whatever. We should not be talking about this on the show.
All right.
Thank God for all I'm gonna say, guys. Thank God for Alienware. Check out alienware.com/ Travis and use code Travis10 off. I need them to keep supporting me because Mark is not good about invoicing.
Might be.
Mark, do you have anything you want to say?
Nope, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be playing some more TFT. I'm excited to cast the Twitch Rivals show match. July something.
I think it's July 17th.
July 17th, thank you.
Yeah. Sarah.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the dates exactly because I'm excited about it. It's not a show match even. It's you didn't retweet it. I thought you would have retweeted it.
I retweeted Kobe's retweet of it.
Oh yeah, that's super not good. And I had to click to yours, to his, to the League of Legends one. July 17th and 18th. Be sure to tune in and watch Mark Zimmerman and Kobe cast Teamfight Tactics Twitch Rival Showdown. I know I'll be there. They're starting at 9 a.m., so I'll definitely be there because Kobe will be waking me up. Actually, I mostly wake up on my own these days, early in the morning, and just stare at the
You say you'll
ceiling.
be there, but do you know where it is?
Oh, you guys are going to the studio.
Right, is it the Burbank studio? Because
Probably. It's probably
Rivals?
NGE. I would bet NGE is producing it. And I think
I
that
don't
they're
think
in
Riot's-
Burbank. Cool. And for me, everyone, I've got a ton of content coming out from Rift Rivals. Go, if you're watching this and you have not watched the live Hotline League that we did last Friday, I thought that was from a content perspective, at least one of our best episodes ever.
I think we had some of our best discussions ever.
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
definitely clipping out the part where it was like all 3 European coaches talking to Peter about North America struggles. Are those somebody else's? Oh no, those are your feet.
Those are my feet.
Okay. This is normally we don't show feet unless it's a subscriber only stream, so
You like the camera, Nyoko?
this has been Hotline League, episode 83. Goodbye.